Soete Womnes, welcome back to Certamen Tonight. We're so excited for May's episode tonight. We're going to be talking about how to start a Certamen team, as well as we're going to have lots of people here who love Roman history and culture. And we're going to talk about why that's so compelling and how you can master that information if you want to become a Roman history specialist. So my name is Jenny Luongo. I have the honor of being the National Certamen Chair for JCL right now. And as always, I'm here with Ben Van Gelder.
Ben, your co-host. I do not have the honor of being the NJCL Certamen coordinator, but I'm still hopefully pretty cool nonetheless.
Absolutely. And tonight, I'm surrounded by Floridians, right, Ben?
Technically.
I'm really excited that tonight we're going to be able to showcase the enthusiasm that is started and encouraged by the Florida JCL. Ben's from Florida, and then tonight we have two former players from Florida, Alex Coisman and Dr. Ron Ressler. So Alex, do you want to start out? Tell us a little bit about your background in Florida Certamen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started playing Certamen as a sophomore when I took Latin 1 in Melbourne, Florida. And we really didn't have a Certamen team, but we had a bunch of bright students. And I think our Latin teacher, the venerable Barbara Schwamm, recognized that, we had some talent there. So she put together a team and she really worked with us hard for the first 2.5 months. And lo and behold, we gelled as a team and we went on to do some fantastic things in Certamen. I went to 3 state FDACL conventions and then 2 national conventions where I actually met Dr. Ressler. We were there at the same time. So we were doing Certamen in the last millennium. And I have to tell you that the pandemic has been a great thing for the world of Certamen because now you can log on and watch students play Certamen and you don't have to sort of watch a bootleg version on YouTube that's 30 feet away and you can barely hear and it's shaking, like somebody recording the Rocky Horror Picture Show on their cell phone. So the pandemic's been great for me because I've been able to sort of plug back into the Certamen world and watch the amazing things that the students of today are doing. And we're going to meet some of those later.
I'm so excited to hear you say that because I know a lot of us have worked really hard to keep Certamen going during the pandemic, and I'm really excited that it has made Certamen a little more accessible to a lot of JCL alums out there. How about you, Dr. Ressler? Tell us your Certamen background.
So I was at a public school in Florida called Seminole High School, and like most kids in high school, you have to take a language. I was not very good at French or Spanish, so I said, I'll take Latin for the required year, I'll be done. So we had a new teacher, Donald Pete, who was Alex's coach and the Florida coach at Certamen for a while. And he invited me to an academic team practice. So I show up after school and I've got my buzzer and I'm answering questions about history and grammar. And after about 10 minutes, I said, Mr. Pete, I like these questions. They're really cool. Where are the math questions? Where are the science questions? Ronnie, what do you mean? I said, well, this is the academic team practice, right? This is the Latin academic team practice, Certamen. I've got the wrong room. I think I'll go now. Why don't you stay? 4 years later, 4 years of state and nationals, and I was hooked. I went on to major in classics in college and now enjoy teaching it and coaching it.
The old switcheroo. We had, I think it was our last show where students were motivated by candy. Is that right initially? And then once they were sort of in the room, it kind of stuck. So
yeah, no, the best teachers know how to just, get them in, get them hooked, and then you can hang on to them. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for being on here. I think we have a couple goals for the episode tonight, as Jenny mentioned. One just being in general, both of you sort of have the history and Roman life bug. One question is just why that subject for where your interest naturally gravitated versus others.
Sure.
Ressler, you want to go first?
Sure. So I'll talk about that. Well, when I played, my draw was my teacher. He was just so inspiring. He stayed up all night, many nights, probably not so good for his health, writing flashcards, writing questions for us, coaching us. And so I wanted to do everything that I could. I actually found I was fastest at grammar. So grammar was my first love. And because I wanted to do well in lots of tests at nationals, history was my second love. And we had another great historian. We had several, but Derek Newton was one that I played with. He was great. And so I didn't need to study that much history then. Well, fast forward 30 years, and I look at the Certamen players of today. They are really, really fast. I mean, really fast. And the competitive part of me still wants to be fast and beat them, and I couldn't beat my students on the buzzer in grammar anymore. So I had to pick a new level. So I picked history. And in fact, for me, history is about understanding how the past applies to culture, art and art history, the present. And it is actually much more of a draw for me as a classicist than grammar is. Still love grammar, still carry my Allen and Greenos everywhere I go, but now along with it is carrying Scholar. And so all these years later, I think history, Roman life, really trying to understand that is much more of a draw than just memorizing the footnotes of Allen and Greenos, which I have a good story about, I'll tell you later.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I feel like we're going to have to hear that soon, but go ahead, Alex.
So for me, it was the way that I landed on Roman life and history was sort of by a process of elimination. I knew that I was never going to be a grammarian. I mean, I enjoyed the language. I enjoyed learning vocabulary and rules of grammar, but I just wasn't fast enough. I thought about being a mythologian, but there were so many kids that had just been, reading Edith Hamilton since, that was like the first book that their parents put in their hands. So I was basically left with everything else. So I did history, Roman life, mottos and abbreviations. And the thing that I brought to the table was I was extraordinarily fast. I mean, I'll a little bit controversial, but buzzers, are the crack cocaine of Certamen. Once you get a buzzer in your hand, you were totally addicted. And it was definitely that way for me. And so I was kind of a generalist who started off studying Roman life because you could memorize 500 facts, and that was probably all you needed to know 30 years ago. And then I expanded into history, and that was, like chess, takes a minute to sort of dip your feet into it, and you can spend a lifetime learning it. And in fact, I still read Roman history books just for fun. And so, I think it's, really kind of the core because it brings students back to what it was like to be a Roman or a Greek or live in the classical times. So that's kind of why I love it.
Okay, Dr. Ressler, before we go on, I feel like we have to hear the Allen and Greeno story.
Oh, yes. Well, so this was 1990. This was finals at nationals. I was playing for Florida and Wisconsin, which is where I live and teach and coach now. Wisconsin was against us. And pretty close match. I think we were winning. I think Texas might have been the other team. And so question comes up, I buzz, I answer, and the moderator tells me, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Well, this was back when I was really, really competitive and probably a bit arrogant. And of course, I had to challenge. Now, you're going to challenge a moderator at nationals who has probably been teaching for 40 years. And I said, well, no, that's absolutely right. In fact, I can tell you in Allen and Greeno's exactly what page, which section, and which footnote the answer's in. I said, oh, you can you? So I spouted out some numbers and they looked it up. At least I had the section of Allen and Greeno's right, and they read exactly the opposite of what I said. So of course I was wrong. And this story I tell to my team when we talk later about strategies of team. One of my 5 keys to a good team and to winning is teamwork. And teamwork didn't come out on top in this particular nationals, because somebody from one of the other teams says something, and my teammate said, "Ooh, Ron, that burns." So I turned to her and I said, "I don't need that from you." She crosses her arms, puts her buzzer down. What's that, Ben?
I would say it's a good thing this was all before sort of the current era we're in of everything being documented on YouTube, so we couldn't have that moment live to watch.
Oh, there may be a video somewhere, but I'm glad I haven't seen it. My teammate put her buzzer down and did not answer a question the rest of the round. We then lost to Wisconsin, got second place that year at the intermediate level. So you got to be humble. You got to be a good sport. You got to be good with your team, and you got to not quote Allen Greeno footnotes, especially if you're wrong.
I think that's one of the most valuable things you can learn from being in Certamen is that there are just a lot of really smart people in the world, and maybe learning to be a little less arrogant as a youngster is something that we all needed. So that's a great story, and I love it that you have that to tell your teams today. One of the students who's going to be joining the call in just a little bit was asking how you two would recommend going through the history source books. You mentioned your growing love for kind of how ancient history and culture intertwined, and carrying your Carrion scholared around, Dr. Ressler. Maybe if you both would give some tips about great source books, but how to deal with those really dense histories.
I'll let you take this one, Alex.
All right. So I'm going to use an analogy to sort of talk about the way that I like to learn history, or I think about learning Roman history. So if you guys have ever put together a puzzle, right, like with the little puzzle pieces in real life, not on a computer, you always start with the corners and the edges, and then you find some really recognizable piece in the puzzle. Maybe there's a red balloon in the middle of it. And I think studying history is exactly the same way. It's sort of the Pareto principle. You have to have absolute mastery of the basics. So whether you're studying the Julio-Claudian emperors or the Punic Wars or the period of the monarchy, you have to get the basic storyline down. And the way that I like to do that is find somebody who has no knowledge of Roman history or Latin, sit them down and take 5 minutes and explain that period in history. So it makes sense and it's engaging. And if you understand the story, then you've got that fundamental thread that you're going to be able to build stuff around. And then you can go back and add the really arcane knowledge, like who was the Praetorian prefect for this emperor, or what year did they fight this given battle in? But if you have sort of that, thread in your brain and you can attach facts to it, it's so much easier to have the hundreds or thousands of facts about any given period. So that worked for me. I'm also sort of an auditory learner. So I really wish that I had some of the podcasts that are available today, 30 years ago when I was studying, because they make it so easy, because they sort of help to build that thread of the story for you. So that's some of the tips that I would give.
Quick follow-up question, Alex. I really like the puzzle analogy. When you sit someone down, though, to explain the contours of history, just the basics of it, how long before that person says, like, hey, I just came to Starbucks to get a coffee. I don't know you, leave me alone.
Exactly. It has to be somebody like a parent, or a really good friend, maybe somebody with the same last name as you, if they're gonna, if they're gonna take the time to listen to your 10-minute exposition about the Flavian emperors. So yeah, point well taken, Ben.
Yeah, so, what you say about the puzzle, exactly, I think, the right way to approach it. And I do a similar thing with my students. We talk in class or in Certamen practice, or sometimes in seminars we do after school, about the big picture. Whether it's maybe the corner pieces of the puzzle or the framework of a house, I say you have to know the big picture first. We talk about a story really from 753 BC all the way to 476 AD in a brief form. And then I have them memorize a list of top 10 dates that I've made. And as they get beyond that, top 20 dates, top 40 dates, top 80 dates. Once they get to about 40 to 80 dates, I feel like they've got a bit of a framework knowledge. And really, for your first year, I don't even recommend novice students going through Carrion Scullard. I recommend them learning the story from beginning to end. I recommend them learning some important dates, learning big stories, and then starting to fill things in with really some of the study guides that are amazing from Connor Harrison and from Caton. I mean, those are just so nice for them to have done, so many hundreds of hours. Use them, and remember the bold parts, get more detailed. Where I pull these source books in is near the end of the intermediate year, as they're getting close to nationals and of course in advanced. And I show them, I say, hey, Carrion Scullard, this is a big book with tiny writing. You cannot try to learn it from beginning to end. You cannot read it from beginning to end. I actually recommend finding some of your favorite stories. Maybe you want to learn some more about the Gauls sacking Rome, and read about that. Get it in detail and start filling in the blanks. Take it in small chunks. Maybe they have an area that they're particularly weak in. Maybe Marius and Sulla is a time period that, we just never talk enough about that. Okay, read specifically about that and then learn it in chunks, so that by the end of your intermediate year, yes, you have read all the pertinent sections of your source books. You have maybe made outlines and flashcards, but I think you have to have an appreciation for it. In fact, I call the stories the glue that holds the flashcards and dates together. For me, flashcards and Quizlets just aren't enough. You have to really dive into it and enjoy it and tell stories. And I think that that's a really fun way to do it. So that's how I would attack the source books.
I hate to interject one more time, but shout out to Connor and Kathan, just in the work that they put in those sources. Those are publicly available. Connor, I studied a lot with him in particular, and it was cool. He picked up history, I think, in 1 year. And then ended up producing, I guess, what has become a very canonical open source note. So that's he put in a ton of work into that. So that's great that that's been helpful for others.
Yeah, those are absolutely amazing resources that are out there.
Yeah, and I literally am just looking at the clock. Would love to keep chatting about history and Roman life. But I think the other thing we just wanted to touch on, and I'll leave it as an open forum, just starting a team and just, I think there are maybe two audiences for this. And we can start with the first one, which is, teachers who maybe have had an experience with JCL or maybe they haven't. And, there's this whole community of Latin enthusiasts, classics enthusiasts that they're not necessarily tapped into, but they want to be. So starting with nothing but the raw materials of a desire and some students who are super passionate about Latin and the classics, what's your advice on making that happen?
So Dr. Ron, this is all you, because you've started a team and I haven't. So, and I'm hoping to learn, because I have a 9-year-old who hopefully will play Certamen in a couple years. So I'm taking notes.
So I've got two kids, Amanda and David. Amanda is at Swarthmore now and thinking of making classics one of her majors. And my son David has been taking Latin as well. And it's really because of them that I got back into Latin and was able to start a team. And it just takes some spark, either for a teacher or from somebody that's been in JCL to come back. Once you've got that spark, then you have to try to figure out how to do it. So for me, kids are, 4 and 5 years old. They ask questions about vocabulary or spelling. I don't give an answer. I say, hey, let's get our Latin dictionary and look it up. Kids say, Mom, Dad's trying to make me do Latin again. Make him stop. So by the time Amanda was in 7th grade, she asks me, she says, Dad, you know all those JCL activities and Certamen things you did? I said, yeah, I know, you hate them. I'll stop talking about them. No, I think they're really cool. I want to do it. This is incredible. We're at Brookfield Academy, but they only start JCL activities in high school. You're in middle school. She said, well, you said that there are Latin 1 students that can play and they can go to nationals. Why don't we start a group? So that's how it started for me. So we gathered as many people. We sent an email out to everybody, to parents. And really at the young age, I think you have to hook the kids and you have to interest the parents because it really takes a lot for these competitions and conventions, and to involve the parents as well is so important. And honestly, the draw of competitions is a big thing. The big competitions at Yale and Harvard and Princeton, those are huge. Now, hopefully with Zoom, that will be huge. Hope some of these competitions will stay virtual. Nothing like the draw of convention, nationals to keep kids interested, and nothing like the draw of college applications to keep parents interested. And when we hear from universities, admissions departments, that they really are looking for people who do things unique, such as JCL activities, you can't beat what we do when it comes to being dedicated to something unique. So that is how we started with the interest. Next up was then coming up with questions. That's become easier and easier over time as they're more available. It comes with study guides. I made a Google Drive for my students. Now some of these things are available on the WJCL Drive, on the Nationals Drive, and that involves more students. That used to be a barrier. It used to be why our team was good in Florida, because Mr. Pete had all this stuff. Now everybody can have it and everybody can do it. And then it takes organization and a bit of strategy. And just briefly, because I know we're going to move on in time, we set up from the very beginning our goals of a positive experience and of building teams with good character, good sportsmanship, and yes, with the ability, if they want to play and compete at a national level. We're going to teach knowledge. We're going to teach speed. Obviously, you got to have speed. You got to have flashcards, but I just don't think that's quite enough, at least for keeping an entire program going. You got to have patience. Can't always just learn question stems. Some of them take a turn, and especially in semis and finals. You got to teach teamwork. We talked about that, and you have to be resilient. Something's going to happen in every round that is going to throw you off your game. And as it turns out, these are 5 pretty good keys for life. I work as an emergency room doctor, and when I played Certamen, it seemed life and death. Working as an emergency room doctor, sometimes it is life and death. But these same butterflies happen when I pick up a buzzer, even if I'm playing in World Series of Certamen, as they do when I'm seeing patients and have to make decisions. So when you tell these stories and you bring people in with interest and you have strategies and parents involved and you've got all the resources, you combine that with your school and you've got a program. And now we've got a program from top to bottom, from 7th grade really all the way through 12th grade. And I would just be happy to talk to anybody or email with anybody with specific questions to share resources and ideas.
That's beautiful. I do not know
Bravo.
this, but
Congratulations.
wow.
Yeah, Dr. Ressler, I love your coaching philosophy, and we're going to talk after this episode about maybe having you write something up that we can publish somewhere, because I think you're right that the value of Certamen is in so much more than winning. It's in all of those things that you talked about. Real quick before we bring our students on, I know they're ready to come and play a little bit tonight. I'm really inspired by the fact that you both were involved in JCL as students, and now, even though you're not necessarily teaching Latin all the time, you've got other jobs that you're working to find ways to keep kids involved. And so if maybe you all could talk briefly as we bring the kids into the Zoom about what NJCL can do better to engage alums who aren't teaching, and to help encourage teams, especially in states where they traditionally haven't necessarily had strong teams at the national level.
So Dr. Ressler, I'll take a first stab at that, because I'm sure you've got strong opinions there, having built a team. Engaging the veterans. So the World Series of Certamen is fantastic, but it tends to appeal to teachers and relatively recent graduates of maybe high school or college level classics programs.
Back when we knew everything.
Pardon, what's that, Ben?
I was just joking. Back when we actually knew things to be able to compete.
Yeah, exactly. So, but wouldn't it be great if there was a master's division of the World Series of Certamen? So, you don't teach, you're not, intimately involved. You're not a teacher, you're more than 5 years out. Just like they have a master's division in golf, right? You're over 50, you're over 60 or whatever. So that would be interesting. And how can you help states or regions where they don't have a strong tradition of Certamen? I think if the NJCL were to give away even a half dozen or a dozen buzzer systems, once you put buzzers in kids' hands, they're hooked. And maybe the quid pro quo, notice how I tied the quid pro quo in, is that you have to agree to sponsor a meet, right? So we'll give you a $300, $400, $500 system if you do at least one invitational meet. And it's not going to be one, it's going to be one every year. People are going to borrow it. If nobody in Kansas is doing Certamen, all of a sudden you've got like 3 invitational meets in 3 years. And it sort of has a toehold there. And those buzzer systems, what are they, $400 or $500?
Well, I'm actually really glad that you brought this up, because not only do we give away a couple of buzzer systems each year, which I think has been a great program, and anybody who wants to apply can find that at njcl.org/Certamen. So thank you for giving us a promo here. But the people who have been making the Quiz Wizard machines are looking for people who can take over that business. So being in tech, you might be able to
talk
help
about
us
that. We should talk about that.
But we definitely are trying to spread the word about the fact that they're willing to give over their plans and that sort of thing to someone who wants to take over the business. So we are actively looking for someone who can take over the making of those Quiz Wizard machines. So yeah, we have lots to talk about after this episode. Dr. Ressler, did you want to add anything to that about engaging NJCL alums or the states that haven't traditionally been players at the national level?
Yeah, the hardest thing that I find in bringing people in, even in Wisconsin, is that people feel like that they can't compete enough to win. I would love to bring so many new schools in Wisconsin in to play. And yet many people say, oh, well, Brookfield Academy students, they're gonna, be on the team. There's no room for me. Absolutely not true. I coach everybody that wants to play in Wisconsin, but it does take some time and some dedication to get to that level. And that's hard, especially when you're a kid and competition means winning or losing. It wasn't until much further on in my schooling that I realized that I love the camaraderie, the idea of competition more than just the winning. So what can we do for the kids? Yale Certamen has the A and the B division. I love the B division. We get to bring in some of our Certamen students that are not the fastest, are not the best. Some of them end up being on the first team on the best by the end of the year or later on, but they get to start, they get to have a great experience. And I know at nationals as well, you know, if you're a team that maybe is not as strong and you play another stronger team, maybe you're playing a Massachusetts or a Florida, or sometimes us in Wisconsin, you say, oh no, or vice versa. You get a great draw and you're like, oh, I'm playing these states that are not very good and we're going to get a big score, because that's all you seem to worry about. And then more schools drop out. If there's any way to have like a B division that's not open Certamen, I love open Certamen for what it is, but I just don't quite get it for actual full competitive Certamen. So that would be kind of my idea. More Zoom things, more B divisions at big competitions, and including, if it is feasible, at nationals.
Sort of a junior varsity. That's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's bring these kids in, and we're going to play some Zoom Tomen tonight. Alex and Dr. Ressler, if you all have any comments as we go through these questions, feel free to join in again. We're going to go ahead and get started with student introductions. Alex, if you'll start for us.
Okay. Hi, my name is Alex Shu. I'm in the 9th grade. I go to BOS and I'm taking Latin 3. One advice that I have for just learning Certamen is, just practicing a lot. Certamen is definitely one of those things where the more practice you put into it, like the better you'll get.
All right, Arik, you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Arik. I take Latin 4. I'm in 11th grade and I go to which is in Marietta, Georgia. And I would say my best advice for Certamen is just getting over the first nerves of buzzing and fast. Once you do that for the first time, it'll just sort of get easier as you keep doing it. And then for history, it would be 1, watch Historicabilis, good channel, and 2, you want to sort of like establish like the narrative story in your mind so that you have like an effective file system to sort and put new information.
My name's Bering, and I go to St. Andrews in Austin, Texas, and I'm in Latin 5 this year. My advice for learning history, or really any category, is to just really, really focus to every single question and practice. Because I actually started off as like more of a myth heavy player. But, as people graduated, I needed to make the jump to, also study history. But that jump was made easier because I had always been interested in it. And because of that interest, I'd always paid attention to other questions, like to questions about history. And so for me, that really helped me to, add another category. When I think if I hadn't been paying attention, like if I had just zoned out during other people's questions, I wouldn't have been able to, make the jump to history as easily as I did.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joey. I go to Milton High School in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in 12th grade this year, and I'm taking AP Latin. And also my teacher is Mr. Marsh. He's the best, so shout out to Mr. Marsh. If I had like a tip or just a suggestion, I'd say, first of all, try to enjoy it. Like, it's a lot more fun to view history and stuff you like what you're doing. Like, I just think it's a lot more fun that I actually like doing it. And then my other suggestions would be, I listen to this podcast called The History of Rome podcast by Mike Duncan. It's really, really good. He kind of tells you the story and you get all the facts you need. And if you have any like questions or further questions, you can like look it up. I just think it's a really good way to start and get kind of a general roadmap of history of Rome.
I'm Maddie and I'm a sophomore at Clark High School in Texas. I'm currently in Latin 2. But probably my best advice for studying history is personally, I don't really study that well just from reading packets and just memorizing flashcards and stuff. So I like to watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, yeah, the history of Rome. But I just kind of find time whenever to do that, like when I'm eating or something. It kind of helps you get like little details that you'd most likely gloss over otherwise.
I'm Matthew. I'm a ninth grade student from New Jersey. I'm in Latin too. If you're studying for Certamen, I'd advise just watch documentaries on Roman history.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I go to St. Stephen's Episcopal School in Florida. I'm in 11th grade and I'm in Latin 4. And my advice would be, if you're starting to study history, is to just find the method that works for you. I know for me personally, I do kind of a mix of memorizing and listening to stuff like the History of Rome podcast. And people would be like, oh, that's kind of a weird way to study. But for me, it works. And so I just say, find what works for you and then run with it. You can always adjust it later if you need to for whatever reason. But I think just finding a way that works for you and is the most enjoyable for you is going to be your best bet.
Great, thank you. And Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Brian. I go to the Williams Community School in Los Angeles. I'm in MS2 Latin, and my advice for studying is study consistently, and then on the day, just trust your gut.
Great advice. Trust your gut. Yeah, that's good advice for whatever category we're talking about.
Or life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with some toss-ups only. And so if everyone wants to just get your buzzers ready, and we'll go ahead and just go through some history and culture questions. So toss-up number 1 for all of our players. Which aqueduct, Rome's second, was...
We have a buzz from Mark.
Aqua Regia.
It was not the Aqua Regia. Bearing.
Aqua Marcia.
It's not the Aqua Marcia. I'll repeat for the other players. Which aqueduct, Rome's second, was commissioned in 272? Alex.
The Anio Ventus.
The Anio Vetus is correct. 272 BC, funded by the treasures seized after the defeat of Pyrrhus and named for the valley from which the water flowed. Absolutely right, the Anio Vetus. Good job, Alex. All right, toss up number 2 for every player. Around 265 BC, the Syracusan general Hiero had a major victory against what group of Spartan? Bearing?
The Mamertines?
The Mamertines is correct. All right. Toss up 3. In addition to the 7 hills commonly associated, Arik.
Janiculum.
Is that your complete answer?
The Janiculum Hill.
No, Maddie?
The Janiculum and Serius Tullius.
No. I'll start over. In addition to the 7 hills commonly associated with early Rome, what 2 hills west of the Tiber were later incorporated into the city? In addition to the 7 hills commonly associated with early Rome, what 2 hills west of the Tiber were later incorporated into the city? Bearing.
Should Matthew go before me, or may I answer? I've already answered one.
Yeah, that's okay. You can go ahead. You were
okay.
Next.
Janiculum and Vatican.
The Janiculum and the Vatican are correct.
That's a dirty question.
Yeah, and so kudos to everybody that buzzed in quick with the Janiculum, because that was probably 80% of the answers would have been that. So good anticipation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is it tricky because people don't think of the Vatican as a hill? You think, Ben?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like Alex is spot on. I feel like I've heard the Janiculum version of that question like a bajillion times, and a little curveball.
Yeah, seriously, you just never know. We were just talking about that. You never know what's coming in a Kurtaman question. All
That's
right, let's do
why we
another
have
one.
patience.
And patience, yes. Toss up. What emperor born in 214 AD? Arik.
Caracalla.
It's not Caracalla. I'll keep going. What emperor born in 214 AD rose through military ranks to be named the Restitutor Orbis? Joey.
Aurelian.
Aurelian is correct. Yeah, good patience there. Imperial birth dates aren't often in the STEM, but good job waiting for that Restitutor Orbis there. All right, let's do another toss-up. Toss-up. Which room across the atrium from the front door was used by the master of the house? Brian.
The tablinum.
The tablinum. Good job, Brian. All right, we'll do another toss-up. What woman born in Emesa to a family of priests of Maddie?
Julia Suemias.
Not Julia Soimias on this one. Tyler.
Zenobia.
Not Zenobia. I'll repeat. Matthew.
Julia Doma.
Julia Domna. Yeah, Julia Domna is the right answer here. Was born to a family of priests of the Syrian deity Elagabal, became priestess of Rome when her husband deposed Didius Julianus in 193 AD. Good job, Julia Domna. All right, let's do one more toss-up and then we'll move on to some sets. Toss-up. Civitas sine suffragio referred to Roman allies that did not have the right to do what? Matthew.
To vote.
To vote. Yeah, the right to vote. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Good job, everybody. We're going to switch over now and Ben is going to do some reading of sets. Let's see, Ben, if we can do at least 5 or so, maybe all the way to 8. We'll see. And students, I think we're going to put you on 2 teams now. So we'll have team A be Brian, Baring, Tyler, and Joey, and then everybody else will be on team B. If you guys don't mind renaming yourself with that letter in front of your name, that would be awesome.
We good?
I think we're all ready.
Awesome. Okay, toss-up number 1 for any team. What substance was used to color the toga candida white?
Arik.
Chalk.
Chalk is correct. Bonus number 1 for the B team. What color was a toga sordida?
I'm pretty sure toga polo was black,
Like the
but
same
I'm not
thing.
sure.
I think that was like another name for it. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just go with Alex since he does 5,000 Anki cards or something. Oh, black.
Black or gray would be acceptable. And bonus number 2, what toga worn by patrician boys and magistrates had a purple border?
It's the praetexta, right? Yeah. Toga praetexta, if I know.
Toga praetexta is correct. So 20 hypothetical points on this toss-up. We're sort of kind of keeping score. Let's keep it competitive, but points don't matter. But they matter, but they don't matter, if that makes sense. Toss-up number 2 for any player. What general fought against Rome using elephants at the Brian.
General Hannibal.
I'm sorry, General Hannibal is incorrect. And no, Arik.
Pyrrhus.
Pyrrhus is correct. I don't know if there's commentary on that question, but you know, good buzz, Brian. I think it's sort of a 50-50.
I mean,
bonus number 1.
Hannibal was such the obvious answer. So, you know, all right, good for you for anticipating what the second answer was going to be.
Yeah, well done. And as a reward, bonus number 1, Xanthippus organized a phalanx of elephants and cavalry to take which Roman consul prisoner in 255 BC?
Regulus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Regulus.
Regulus is correct. And bonus number 2, which Roman consul was saved from capture by his son at the Battle of Ticinus River?
So yeah, Scipio, Elder. Right, guys? All right, cool.
I kind of gave a tell. That's correct. So 20 points on toss-up number 2. Toss-up number 3 for any player. Responde aut Anglicae aut Latine. Quim Constantinus vicit ad proelium arc?
Maxentius?
Maxentius is correct. Yep, if you were responding in Latin, technically Maxentium, but Latin or English, so that is correct. So yeah, whom did Constantine vicit beat at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge? Maxentius. Bonus number 1, responde aut Anglicae aut Latine. Quod signum ibi erat in scutis militum Constantii?
Is it like a burning cross?
Oh, it's called the Chi Rho.
Yeah, it was the
Okay.
Cairo.
Go with it.
Yeah, the Cairo final.
Yeah, I'll take the Cairo cross. That's right. Bonus number 2, responde aut Anglicae aut Latine. Prope quod monumentum erat arcus Constantii?
Okay. I do not know this.
Was it asking where the arch is?
Like what monument? So I guess you can just like guess a random monument, I guess. I don't know. Say something.
Is it the Arch of Constantine? Seems too
What's it
obvious.
near?
Near? Oh. Pretty sure it's in Rome. I don't know if it might not be.
Give me your best shot. Answer, please.
Final answer. The river.
What'd you say?
The Tiber.
Tiber? No, it was the Colosseum or the Arch of Titus. So 15 points on toss-up number 3. Toss-up number 4 for any player. Lucius Publilius Celsus, Aulus Cornelius, Alex.
The 4 consulars.
I'm sorry, it's incorrect. And no one from Team A, so I'll repeat. Lucius Publilius Celsus, Aulus Cornelius Palma Frontanianus, Gaius Avidius Nigrinus, and Lucius Quietus were 4 leading senators. Baron.
Definitely should have waited, but Hadrian.
Hadrian is correct. Were 4 leading senators who led a conspiracy against which Roman emperor? Bonus number 1 for the A team. What Praetorian prefect uncovered this conspiracy of the 4 consulars?
Atianus.
Yeah.
Atianus is correct. And bonus number 2, what brother-in-law of Hadrian was put to death in 136 AD for trying to make his grandson Gnaeus Pedianus Fuscus emperor?
Do y'all remember? I know it starts with S, but that's all I got.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I know it's like sounds like Sulpicianus, but it's not Sulpicianus. I know that.
It's like Skella or something. That's just a guess.
It's like it's
Secundus, maybe? I don't know.
That
Take a
is?
shot.
Secundus? I don't know.
Secundus. I would super wish I could give out partial points because it does begin with an S. It's Servianus or Julius Ursus Servianus. Good shot though. That's a toughie. So 15 points on toss-up number 4 for the A team. Jenny, how are we doing on time? One more or?
Let's say 2 more and see how it's going.
All right, let's ride. Toss-up number 5 for any player. In the First Samnite War, Rome allied itself with which large city income?
I think it's Maddie.
Oh, do I say it? Okay, Capua.
Capua is correct. In the First Samnite War, Rome allied itself with which large city in Campania? Bonus number 1, and Maddie, yeah, B team. Bonus number 1 for the B team. Where did the Samnites trap the Romans in the Second Samnite War?
Forks,
Wait, what?
Like Caudine Fork.
Caudine Forks, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that final answer.
Caudine Forks is correct. And bonus number 2, which ancient Roman road originally connected Rome to Capua, but by about 244 BC had been extended to Brundisium?
It's the Via Appia, right? Yeah, the Via Appia.
Via Appia is correct. Thanks for, yeah, I feel like I stumbled in the middle there, but you know what I was getting at. So that is correct. So 20 points on toss-up number 5 for the B team. And toss-up number 6, or toss-up the last. Who ultimately banned and ended the cult of Vesta bearing?
Gratian.
Sorry, Gratian is incorrect. Let's go to Maddie.
Theodosius the First.
Yep, Theodosius the First is correct. Bonus number 1, what 2 sons of Theodosius succeeded him?
I feel like Gratian.
Guess Gratian too.
I would do that.
Yeah, Arcadius and Honorius.
Final answer?
Yeah, Arcadius and Honorius.
Correct. And bonus number 2, Vestal Virgins served for how many years?
I think this is 30. Wait, what?
30?
It's 30, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. 30 final.
30 final is correct. So
Nice.
20 points. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for playing. This was fun.
Yeah, so now we've got the time when everybody can play including our viewers at home. We're going to go ahead and get a Kahoot started so everybody can go to Kahoot. .it, www.kahoot.it, and we will type in our game pin, Tres Duo Quatuor Octo Sex Nihil Septem. All right, Tres Duo Quatuor Octo Sex Nihil Septem. So hopefully we'll start generating those always fun Kahoot nicknames. Wow, there's a lot of good ones tonight, Ben. Hero Dingo.
Yeah, what's our favorite so far? Jenny, what's your favorite?
Gosh, there's so many good ones. Every time I get one, another one pops up. Royal Rabbit, it's a pretty good one. Pretty excited.
Hero Dingo, wherever Hero Dingo went.
Amazing Goat. Yeah.
Alex, what's your favorite?
I don't know if Alex heard us. He may be having technical issues. All right, well, don't forget that even after we start the Kahoot, that you're still able to join with that game pin 324-8607. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first question. I'm kind of excited about these history culture questions. And I really like the way that Dr. Ressler talked about how everything's all linked, art history and all of that. This first one, they have to select more than one, Ben. So we were talking about aqueducts earlier. Which 2 of the following aqueducts were built by Agrippa? So we've got the Aqua Virgo, the Aqua Appia, the Aqua Anio Vetus that we were talking about earlier in one of the questions, or the Aqua Julia. Hopefully that question we talked about will help people narrow this a little bit. So yeah, the Anio Vetus was the like second oldest aqueduct I think we talked about. So Agrippa at the time of Augustus was responsible for building the Aqua Virgo and the Aqua Julia, as well as renovating all sorts of aqueducts. He was hugely responsible for Rome's water system. All right, so Golden Stork. We didn't talk about that name, but that's a great name. They're on top right now. And just a reminder that there's JCL swag for the top 3 tonight. So the province of Sicily was added after the what? Which war was the province of Sicily added after? So yeah, the top 3 JCL sponsors or students or SCLers who are playing should definitely screenshot and send to me. So province of Sicily added after the First Punic War. Oh, we've got some movement. Royal Rabbit moving up. Okay, which wall around Rome is the most recent? Oh, lots of fast answers on this one. Yeah, it's the Aurelian Wall. We had that question about the Restitutor Orbis. I don't even know if did we even get to read that whole question? The players were so fast buzzing in. I don't think we got to the part where he built the last of the walls around Rome, but good job, everybody. Okay. What queen of Palmyra did Aurelian, speaking of Aurelian, humiliate in a triumph and then settle at a villa outside of Rome? I think it was a villa at Tibur near Hadrian's villa, even though, you know, Hadrian was hundreds of years earlier. Yeah, it was Zenobia. They know their queens. Very well done. Very well done. All right, what toga was worn by those in mourning? If you were paying attention earlier, we talked about this question. Yeah, and earlier there was a question about whether the toga sordida was the same thing as the toga pulla, and they're both names for the togas that were black or gray and worn by people in mourning. So good job to our players at home and players here for knowing that. All right, what foe first deployed elephants against the Romans in battle? Hopefully people were paying attention earlier.
The speed is just absolutely remarkable.
I know. Our answers are coming in so fast. So yeah, although we think of the elephants with Hannibal, Pyrrhus was the first. Okay, a few more questions. What woman was the mother-in-law of Septimius Severus and the grandmother of Elagabalus and Severus Alexander? So I find that this is one place where students often have to think twice. Am I getting the right Julia? Yeah, there's so many important Julias in this family. This one was Julia Maesa. Oh, and we get some movement. Excited meerkat moving up. Okay, what Gallic leader who captured Rome in 390 BCE is known for exclaiming, "Why Victis?" We didn't get a chance to talk about him tonight, but this is a famous one. Answers are coming in fast. So look at that. We didn't even need to talk about that. So many people got that right. Well done, people.
Amazing.
All right. Who, the first non-mythological woman to be on Roman coins, married Antony before leading a revolt with his brother? Didn't have a chance to talk about this episode tonight, but looks like everybody's got some good guesses. Do you have your guess ready, Ben?
Yeah, I think I'm wrong. Yep.
Yeah, Cleopatra is such a good distractor there, right? But this actually was Fulvia, who was married to Clodius and then Curio and then Antony, and then led the Perusine revolt with Lucius Antonius. All right, good job to those of us that stayed on top. Okay, so last question. What son of a Vandal and a Roman woman became a Roman general and guardian of the Emperor Honorius? We were talking about Theodosius's children, Honorius and Arcadius, earlier. So, oh, we've got those answers came in fast. Lots and lots of people knew this one. Good job. It's Stilicho. Yeah, he actually fought Alaric. All right. So if you are in the top 3 on the podium, Gentle Goat, Wise Bat. Oh, I like that one.
No, it's a Gentle Goat. Gentle Goat really made their way up there toward the end.
Yeah, and an excited Meerkat managed to hold that one. So well done to everybody. Screenshot your victory. Email it to me at kurtcommon@njcl.org, and we will get some JCL swag sent to you at your house. Thanks so much to the players and former players who joined us tonight for Certamen Tonight.
Before we sign off, just Dr. Ressler, Alex, thanks for joining us. I didn't know if y'all had any last comments, but sorry to jump in. I just wanted to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What a joy this has been. I thought I was going to be a doctor for 20 years and retire and become a Latin teacher. That was the plan. Now I get to do both. And I just have to take a couple of seconds to thank everybody. Former players I played with, Casey, Derek, Heather, Jamie Dwyer, Meredith Prince, Jane. They were awesome. All the people I played against, the Brookfield Academy teachers who let me come in and work with them, the players I've coached, including the best I've ever coached, Kyle Jane, amazing. The Wisconsin chairs, Marianne Wallach and Gail Stone and Lindy Knight Stone, who let me as a doctor come in and coach everybody. My wife for organizing Latin trips and talking classics with us all the time. And my kids, Amanda and David, for taking Latin. And of course, everybody here, Ginny, Ben, Kurt, thank you for involving me in this. This is really a dream and hopefully is somewhat of a good story or inspirational to others who want to join in and coach and create new teams. Couldn't have more fun.
Dr. Ressler, words of wisdom. I'm just going to end with my favorite Kurtamen question, my favorite Hollywood Kurtamen question of all times. If anyone has ever seen the movie The Emperor's Club, who was Shutruk Nahunte? And if you guys haven't seen that movie, you absolutely should, because it's a brilliant movie, especially when you're 30 or 40 or 50, like Dr. Ressler and I. You'll look back fondly on your years of learning Latin, and that movie might mean something.
That is a great movie. So we'll leave everyone with that thought. Check out The Emperor's Club. And thanks so much to everyone for being with us tonight. It was a blast, and we hope to see everybody on the June episode. I think we're gonna play a full round of Kurtamen. So that'll be a lot of fun, right, Ben?
Yes.
Always, always. All right. Well, Ete, Womnes. We'll see you next time.